Take's got to be mad that he's not on the kill leaders, but also missed opportunity for One Eyed Open not to be winking during their photos. Just gonna throw that out there. Could have been a thing. It
You're
isn't.
right. You're right.
You're right.
I'm mad that you're right about that, by the way. I'm not you are 100% correct, and it's I would love to live in the world of toffees for just one day where everything is like some type of joke just waiting to be uncovered. I'm far too serious for that. I wish I could get a little bit of that in my life.
Oh, nobody wants to live in the world of toffees. It's an interesting, beautiful, terrifying place. Let's look at Ascendance Esports. Ascendance Esports here as they loot the bathroom. Ascendance.
Yeah, they got a little bit of attention back over next to Pros Don't Snake, just down to the south of them. The plane path was very southern, kind of connecting right over next to the canal, separating out Military Base Island. So you can see that's where we see a lot of options coming into play. The first circle is going to pop, and Pachinki is just south of center, so Ruins, the Badlands, that area over there is going to be a more popular contested points where we're going to see a lot of teams try to rotate through. Interestingly enough, based off the way the circle is popped, nobody is in the northern part of the circle right now.
You know, the plane resulted in 3 teams on Military Island, and Purdy Curdy asked recently, I wonder why we don't see more bridge camping, to which we saw DreamHack this weekend with quite a bit of bridge camping. I wonder if maybe some of that will translate, because it's had reasonable success, particularly when multiple teams are trying to cross the bridge.
Yeah, but we see so many teams right now that are playing for positioning more than anything else. They want to play for late game, and they want to play for, like, they're almost their own little mini traps. You see, like, the bridge is always the obvious camp point. Like, everybody that's played PUBG knows bridge is bad, bridge is scary, don't go to bridge. But there's also a lot of little independent points where, like, a lot of these teams like to rotate, and if you can get there, you can pick up almost as many kills as if a firm dominant bridge camp position as well. And I think that's where we see a lot of the North American teams liking to play in that style.
But I miss bridge camping, Matchroom.
I miss it too.
Remember the old days when PUBG first came out and there was no such thing as a safe bridge cross ever?
Yeah. And I also like it just whenever we end up getting, I know everybody's going to hate me and everybody hates my opinions on circles, but dude, when we get those like in-game circles that still have the bridges in them,
yeah,
I love those. I love those so much.
Yeah, I remember competitive games where the circle ended on like the bridge in up north, or like in Georgia Pole Bridge. I remember one that ended underneath the bridge on the West Sosnovka exit. Oh god, those, I know people hated them, but I loved watching that stuff. That was hilarious to see teams adjust. But you know, the days of torturous play are gone. The strategy is now more functional.
Just reminds me of the old mermaid days.
Yeah. Oh, that we don't want to talk about.
I feel bad for Seal right now. He's like, what do I even show? They're not even talking about anything in the game. I'm trying to show him cool stuff. So like, here's a bridge. Is this what you guys want? Here's a bridge. Here's a car. What do you want to talk about now?
This is a tire. You guys suck. Thank you. Great tire shot, by the way. Remember, check your treads. You don't want to be on bald tires this winter.
Here you go, Seal. Look at this big split that we've got coming up from the hard shifts right now. We know the fact that they usually loot around the Gatka area, but they got lobes all the way back over towards the west and then just spread all the way up next to Pachinki. They've got a firm line that feels like they're starting to feel out, and nobody is really contesting any of their points. So I'd be curious to see where they feel is the most optimal point to play at right now.
I agree. Sorry, I got distracted for a second by the map. Lots of teams trying to find their way into the circle. This is actually one of those games, guys. I would encourage you to open up the map stream if you have the option to do so, because it is going to be very interesting to watch how some of these rotations play out. Oath will very likely make a long rotation after Zenith, both looking towards not the north of the map necessarily, but to get in sort of south of the river. Does anybody take the risk and go north of the river just in case at this point, Matt, or do you think everybody just waits to see what the next circle says?
I don't even know. Like, we were playing like Center Fiesta in our last 3 games over on Miramar.
True.
And this time around, nobody is really, like, there's a couple of teams that are making their way over there. Like Sonics, naturally, they land Pachinki. They do have hard shifts that's running a 2-2 split back over towards their west, so they're kind of contained. Veritas is towards the north of their position. But look, nobody's center. Everybody is kind of caught up in all of the randomness that's happening over towards the edges. No firm bridge camps, no real defensive camps that are coming into play yet either. It's more just teams that are slowing down other teams at different points, but everybody's managing to make it into a safe zone. I mean, Evasion is cutting a path back over towards Pachinki Hillside, which we know can be quite strong. but nobody's really playing there right now because everybody's off in all these other corners of the circle, or corners of the circle, corners of the map. Shh. Nobody questioned the fact that there's corners of the circle. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Shh.
I missed it. In all fairness, if you hadn't said it, I'm sure Twitch chat would have caught you. That's great. So Tactical 8 still on the island. Going to go ahead and do a late rotation. Cannot blame them for that, as will the Rumblers, as they're sort of just, why not? Why not just sort of make a late rotation, take a little blue pop if you need to, see where the next circle tells you to go. Oath finally leaving Milta Power. We'll check in with Ascendance Esports as they wrap up their looting phase, and we'll move towards the middle of the map.
They were one of the teams that were kind of holding back over next to Western Bridge. Not a lot of like firm defenses coming out. They were just kind of like getting information, it almost feels like, more than anything. They're playing right along the coastline of the main island itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if they play along this point, maybe go back behind the building complexes that are back over towards their east, or just do a directed cut up toward the hillside to the southeastern area around Pachinki. One of those two different points. Looks like they're going to lean back over towards that hillside as they're already aiming back that way, with Zraven kind of cutting the first point. Oath in no rush to come in either, but a lot of 2-2 splits, 3-1-1s, or 3-1s, 2-1-1 splits that are kind of holding down different points of the map. There's a lot of territory in this circle, and it feels like all the teams are just trying to exploit that right now.
100%. Wait it out and see what happens. The Sonics are a good example, as they have a lot of real estate. No one's going to be popping into Pachinki anytime soon. So the guys can spread out and hold the four corners, and we'll have options no matter where the next circle goes. And that's what you want, especially on this map. Lock up some options, give yourself a transitional path if the circle's not in your favor. And most importantly, Matchum, be ready to move as the circle pops. This is the kind of circle where players need to be in their cars with a plan of action if the circle doesn't favor them.
Oh, especially if it cuts north. You have to assume that a lot of the teams based off of playing path are playing in a similar location. This is an interesting variation on meta play that we see coming out from the Sonics right now. Usually the Pachinki team doesn't stay Pachinki. They shift out, either go back down to the south to the hillside, or maybe they'll cut it back over towards the east. We've got Tig that's kind of dancing back over to the warehouse farm area that's back over towards the west of it. But instead, we see Sonics, instead of leaving, just shifting back over towards the north. Is, hi guys, just taking a couple of shots. Oh, I like that. Rumbler's like, that's kind of rude. Or Gaxie's just continuing to drive by as everybody's just trying to do all these flashy. We got Tiggleton in here, so you know that everybody's trying to show off and get some shots on. Just doing a quick sweet spot.
In the old days, you put two players in a car so that you could shoot while you drive. And then people like K-Mind came about. And now you just take your own car, but also shoot while you drive. So it's been entertaining to see. We do have a dead body left behind. Sad panda. Gaxie.
Or Gaxie.
Let's sigh.
And look, his loot's not even going to go to anybody because nobody's going to stop.
No.
No, somebody is going to stop. Thank you, Snakers, for not wasting Gaxie's time. See, at least somebody gets it.
Your sacrifice was not made in vain. By the way, we asked if anyone would go north of the circle, or the river rather. Zenith has decided to take that. They went north. They're going to hold it and see, hey, if a north shift happens, that's great news for them. So I guess why not?
Meanwhile, we've got T8 back down towards the eastern bridge. They're just nomming on some blue. No big rush coming out from them. Ascendance also pushing back over towards Pachinki. And yes, Toffees. Yes, this is what I want to see. River cutting through the center of the circle as well. Well, just a touch south of it. That means the fact that there's multiple bridge camping positions that can be played from there. Shooting range and the hillside inside of it still in play. Those fun locations just to the southwest of Stalber also going to be in play. And look at the Exodus. You called it, Toffee. As everybody was near their vehicles, it's time to Mad Max this.
I don't have Zenith's comms, but I know when that popped, Roth went, what? Poonage went, let's go! And Shinboy just sat there quietly. And that's the hype.
I don't know. I'm gonna nominate.
No, it's just the hype of the circle. There's no way that you even when going to there, they're like, well, let's take this risk. We'll probably have to go south, and then get dead center because of how north it is.
Look at the map and how many teams are moving right now. It's
wild.
Glorious. There's one team that is not moving, and that's Zenith. And they're just like, oh, hey, one eye open. Thank you for coming up and delivering us a kill point. We appreciate it. Let's see, the first team other than them that's going to hop out and stop looks like it might be Liberate, stopping off along the control point. They do have VTS that's coming up back behind them. One of the teams, it looks like Rumblers with their three-man squad, going to be playing back over towards the northeast, getting plenty of control out of that. Veritas realizing the fact that this might be a little bit too hazardous. Instead of driving through, you're going to try to play around the hillside next to it. And you can see every single time we pop into a shot, somebody is driving in the distance somewhere close to where they're at.
I feel really bad for One Eye Open right there. They had somebody sitting, like they sent, the only other team to send someone across the river was them. They didn't see Zenith come in from the north because they made such a long rotation, and they thought, oh cool, we can grab this really great compound. No one else has even tried to cross the river. We've been doing our due diligence. Unfortunately, Zenith makes them pay.
There's a weird situation that's happening on Everest where one of the members of Sonics, Tig, is holding back PDS all by himself. Why he's here and why he's fighting, I'm unsure of. I think that they were just trying to get into a position and maybe get a little bit more information, see rotations as they come through. He's going to get out a point. That was just a very random thing. In addition to this, Toffees, maybe we could get a circle rope-a-dope coming in here. As you can see now, every team has decided to go to the north, and Sonics runs right into that committed defensive line from Hardshift's. 1 down, 2 down. Mime running off into the distance, and Tig says, I don't want to drive that way. Instead, is going to cut back over towards the west.
Oh my gosh. Best case scenario for the Hardshifts. If you want a team to drive through your trap, you want it to be one of the teams that you are dealing with in the top of the bracket. And for it to be the Sonics, that's got to be super hype-inducing for the shifts. Look at it. Seed swap.
Tig,
what?
Tig,
What?
Tig! That
Tig!
is absolutely insane. Make it 3. Can you tap him off in the
What?
distance? I love this. Tig is like, okay, you want to mess with me around Everest? Just run him over, Tig. Give it to me. You know what I want.
You killed half my team.
Yes.
Let me wipe these guys. This is... Jesus. Tigleton's ridiculous. He's nuts!
Just running back over. The Hardshift's here to fight and want to try to capitalize off of it. Tig's running off into safety, trying to get to a point. Tap shot's going through, and he does manage to make it to safety, but that one was pretty close. Hardshift's now aware of where the reposition came in from the Sonics, so seeing if maybe they can get a little bit more aggressive to take out what's going on. Keep in mind, while this is going on, Pros Don't Snake still had to stay back over next to Georgia Pole, and Ascendance is rolling up back behind them because they hear the shots coming out from Hardshifts. Circle's going to pop, put Zenith smack dab in the middle of it. Hardshift's right on the edge. But Tigleton, Ascendance. We're also going to see PDS as well as who's that over there? We got Gravity, D-Rich, last member. What's going on in Georgia Pole, Toffees?
Somebody go clip that, by the way, for Tig. Like that, I'm still dealing with that. But what's going on in Georgia Pole? I think everybody saw the chaos of Tigleton's wipeout, and they were like, well, we'd rather fight in the blue than deal with the Tig.
Well, I guess wish granted. You get a fight around crates. Joy on what's going on with that. Pros Don't Snake finding themselves in an interesting position, being counterflanked right now by Ascendance. Quick walk up and spray. Now going to leave Dirty as in by his lonesome and not a lot of options to work with. Maybe try to get a kill out of this. Could be a quick push coming around from Ripper. He might hear the footsteps there. He knows that they're going to be close. He knows to juke around onto it. Nope. Instead gets spotted out, gets taken down as well. VRT does manage to path all the way around this back over towards the north, so now leaving the blue themselves.
Cheeky pre-fire, but unfortunately, he was not standing there. All right, let's take a look at that circle and everybody else trying to get into it. TC trying to find action in the north. Tactical 8 facing off against Oath, as Oath yet in the middle of another firefight as we join them. Lush decides to try to get the bike and make a move, but the fire is unending. Reload gets the knock or the finish on Steezy, as well as the knock, and Lush just has to exit.
So Tack 8, you're in a bad spot right now. Zealot, the last one, firmly surrounded. Here comes a grenade, rolling back over towards the feet. Pat's taking a little bit of damage. Zealot's just got nowhere to go, standing out in the open. It's just a matter of time. Pat Gap's just going to go ahead and tap that one over, pick that one up. Remnant does manage to make it out, and I believe it's going to be Lush that does get the separation coming out now and get this at least a little bit of a piece away from Zenith, which is actually in a very controlled point. Coming up back behind this is going to be Fabled, who now wants to take a little bit of a shot back over towards Oath.
Coming up there with the SLR, gets the reload. Hella leading the charge with that 8X as they push uphill. Saw that fight break out with Pat Caps and Zealot, and they do think that they have a chance to pick up some free kills here. The problem is it's Oath at the top of that hill, and that is never free.
Specifically, Pat Caps yet again, now finding himself in the reversed point position as the team comes up back behind him. Going on a couple of utility pieces. Except he's trying to find an angle back over towards Pat. It's getting a little bit interesting back over towards this hillside. Fable's got to play this very carefully as Oath is firmly regrouping back around Pat, trying to find two different approach vectors that they can work with. You can see Snakers playing along the outside of this. Rumblers are still playing around shooting range and harassing Snakers just a touch, denying his defensive capabilities to really protect Pat Caps in the right way. Axetti's going for a flank around the side of this. There's been a couple of small fights that are happening right now, but I'm kind of caught up on what's happening with Oath.
Yeah. Oath seems like the kind of team that's totally cool with people trying to third party them. Like, they're like, all right, guys, next up, ticket, please. And they lock it in. Not only do they get to have this fight, but the circle goes their way. So they have as long as they need to execute this, whether they're Fable or Oath, they can take their time and play this strategically.
I love the fact that we're seeing the other side coming out from Oath. We've seen them play aggressive. We see them play, I guess, ballsy is the best way to describe it. Now they're having to play a full defensive game. They know that they've got two different firing angles that are coming at them. So instead, having to play this one much more carefully. Shots now coming back over as Fabled trying to work its way forward, but Veritas has a back angle on the outside of Fabled, hitting connecting shots back over towards it. You can see now repositioning over here. Fabled now find themselves in that same pincer position that they were trying to pull off just a second ago. That caps, I believe, is down, about to be flushed out over towards the side of it, already flushed out. So now Oath trying to reposition away from this as Rumblers still look like they might be trying to play up the hillside as well. Haxete is just playing off on his own on that rock. And I don't think that Veritas finds themselves with an angle to really play just quite yet. But Keenan looks like he's hopping into a little bit more of an aggressive positioning, moving forward, trying to find something to play around.
BTS came in there and gave some aid to Oath as they push up. It may cost Oath ultimately, but it does put Haxete at an extreme disadvantage. He's the last man standing. But watch out because Keenan's making the push.
I thought with the new change in Spectator, I didn't see any health bars on him, I thought Pat was out, but no, they do manage to get him back up. Veritas now starting to make their push back along the hillside. I think that, I don't know if the 100% certain they know where Oath is positioning at. They know that the wreckage, they've seen the smokes and everything like that, but they don't know how damaged we can see this playing out. This is now turned into a four-way team fight. As you can see, Rumblers, Waldo, and Los also moved into aggressive position back over next to Snakers. He's trying to hold the line for his teammates, but it is too problematic. There's too many angles. There's nowhere for Oath to go at this point, just because everybody is collapsing in on their position right now, and there is only tree cover to work around, so there's no safety to be had.
Oath may welcome third parties, but no one wants the 4th, 5th, and 6th, as everyone seems to be collapsing on this position, with the exception of Zenith, who's still in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, with a little bit of distraction with Veritas now trying to play off in 1 point on this, got to be a little bit more careful. Sonic's popping off back on the other side of this as they've been aggressed on by multiple teams as well. It's going to be Clueless that goes out while trying to get a little bit of separation against one eye open off to the side of this. They've been caught up in a lot of fights. I know we were kind of caught up looking at the Oath fight, and I mentioned the fact that there was a fight that was happening over here with them, but 3 different teams also collapsed around this point. Somehow, some way, Sonics are still clinging to life. I say somehow, some way. Tig's sitting on 5 kills. That should be a key indicator on how they are managing to survive.
Yeah, it's been an absolute barn buster over on this side as well, as the Sonics still try to maintain themselves. Meanwhile, Duel does get the elimination there on Virtue. Mime, the last man standing for the Sonics, and he is still up against 3. So this is one of those questions where maybe it's time to just withdraw. You can see in the map, Relo withdrew from the situation he was in and gets to the middle of the map so that Oath can live to fight another day.
He just left everything that was going on, jumped down back over into that position, now playing towards center. Hardships here is a little bit of a firefight that's going on next to them, instead repositioning back over to counter move around Duel's point. We talked about this before. This is one of the strengths on how Hardships moves in. Look at how they move into a point, instantly collect so much information, and start trying to separate out to find different lines. Sure, we do see Lobes going down off of that position, but now they know where they're vulnerable from, and they can reset around this to try to find some new point to play around. The only problem is I don't think that they know about Mime.
Collecting information or collecting lead, you decide, as 2 members of the Hardship 3 end up going down. J-Sank finished off, and Duel just having their way with them right now.
The Luke reposition was so big for them. Him going down was really just a problem. Hardships, I was trying to give you some gas off of that one. I thought that you had the angle to work with. But no, instead, it's going to be a Duel that's just strongly and definitively holding this line. But we do see the reses come back over, so at least 2 members back over towards this angle to work around. Lobes connects on some shots back over towards Lynxy, and just still just trying to find a peak angle to play around. Gets a lot of damage back over towards Lobes. Looks back over and through, and there we go. Hardships go out in 10th. Maybe not the best example of their approach on the circle. Sorry.
No, that was Pentalol spiking the ball, by the way. That was an excellent finish there with the 1-2. And you know what? They came in. It was a cerebral push. They gathered information. Unfortunately, all hell broke loose. So that is what it is. Mime healing up next to the fire. Fabled eliminated. Oath in the middle. Zenith really, honestly, should win this at this point, unless it's a crazy shift. They've got hard cover. Like, they are essentially the only hard cover left in this circle.
Yeah, I mean, so Zenith has a ton of control on what's going on. Great position. The problem is nobody's really coming to play with them. After that first group that kind of drove up right up on top of them, That was One Eye Open. One Eye Open repositioned back over towards the west after 1 kill. Veritas still controlling back over towards the eastern section of the circle, just to the south of them, I believe, is going to be Liberate, who's holding down point. It's really just Zenith and Relo that are the last that are kind of like playing towards the center. Everybody else is still duking it out back over towards the edge.
And I think that speaks to the way that the layout of the land is here. Obviously, it's the mountaintop is where Zenith is, and everyone else is playing on a bit of a rise. So you're going to have to work the edge. You're going to have to let the blue close behind you to make sure that there's no flankers, because this is one of those landscapes on Erangel where it is very easy to get backstabbed, to get snaked on, to have somebody sitting in that bush right there that you never expected, which is kind of Relo's strategy.
Yeah, there's a lot of little interesting situations that are brewing around here. No team wanting to be aggressive just quite yet, except for Duel. Duel separating out, trying to get a little bit more space, but they're the only ones that really have to work with. Almost all the other teams are playing the northern sections of the map. Really, Zenith playing in the center is kind of the dividing line of everybody else playing towards the north, where we can see the fact that One Eye Open looks like they're trying to get a little bit more aggressive back over towards Rumbler's angle. There's not a real clean way to make the position over unless you just push along the lower and the higher parts of that hill. You can find yourself very quickly dismantled just by a lack of vision and knowledge on positioning where the teams are at.
One Eye Open trying to make the play. Delta is down, but they got to deal with the Romblers, who are interested in packing in those kills. And I don't know if they can defend themselves while Dini and McCoy make a heck of a duo, Matcham.
Yeah, but they can't be able to get much. That grenade just point blank in face. McCoy still making his way up the hillside, trying to get some more out of it, but cannot complete. That's going to be Mon Hardy running back over towards his teammate, trying to get Delta up, I believe, first. Looks like bleeding out fairly quickly. Winlow looks like might be in a better position. New Circle still got Relo, Zenith, Duel, and one member for Liberate that's going to be inside the circle. Mime now under fire from Duel. Not a lot of options. He's got himself a vehicle to work with, but he might be running along the same path that's going to put him right on top of where Relo is positioned at. So has to play this carefully. Not going to matter in the end as Cherry finally does manage to connect, and Sonics go down in 7.
What other option did you have? Mime could only stay quiet and try to hope for the best as the car starts to smoke. There's no cover. You can't blame him for that death. Let's jump over to Veritas and Liberate. They've been staring at each other for a while since Oath withdrew from this area. And as the circle shifts, Liberate now has the onus of getting out of the compound and working their way uphill.
They have plenty of information to work around. Ice Tech's already got themselves a little bit of foothold. You can see way out in the distance over there. They're going to reposition over there, which actually separates them away from Veritas, who is one of the stronger teams. Still, well, they've got one member down right now, but should be able to get the res back over towards it, and we're playing fairly close to them. So now instead, looks like we're going to see a little bit of a pairing that's going to happen where Veritas might be leaning back over towards One Eye Open's positioning. Meanwhile, Zenith just gets to kind of provide oversight on everything. They just get to be referees on all the fights that are happening around them.
Like, they were hyped when they got the first shift. At this point, they're getting it, and Roth's like, this is just ridiculous. Because it is. They're in the center every time. This is wild.
Is a team that wants to kill. Like, they don't like to camp in this position, but they're like, it's stupid to leave.
Kick starts happily sniping. Ponage is probably fuming downstairs, like, I want to push someone on defense. But that said, I mean, if the circle gives you the advantage, you just have to sit there and accept, hey, 4 kills is 4 kills, but 10 points is a win. Let's just accept the value.
So hearing all that's going on right now, it looks like Veritas is starting to collapse back over next to One Eye Open. Duel coming in from the south, so Quick Pincer coming back over towards them. Only one member still alive. Nowhere to go. That's going to be a quick over and out back over towards them. No, actually, they still have one member back behind this. Sorry about that. That's going to be Winlow. My vision is not the best today. I apologize about that. Throwable's going to be coming in. Winlow doesn't have a lot of options. Hellfire and Brimstone are going to go ahead and take them out in 5th place position. Duel very quickly stepping away from that because they heard Veritas take the shots. Veritas also stepping away from it, as it looks now we've got one team in the middle, gonna stay in the middle, and it's all on Liberate having to move.
I'm going to be honest. If I ever make a duos team, we're going to change our names to Hellfire and Brimstone. That is a quality duo you just tossed out there. Solid stuff. Liberate pushing up the hill. They did make it out, and they did it with a southern rotation. Ice Tech guarding the back as Liberate will move to the south and should be in a pretty good spot because I don't think they have to crest the hill to expose themselves to Zenith. They can sort of just wait here for the circle to close up and let, I think, Duel deal with Veritas on the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, this is a really interesting situation as the longer that Zenith maintains being a referee for this, the
Hmm.
longer that everybody's going to stay at high, like everybody's going to keep so many members of their team alive.
Yep.
Veritas, you can see, is wanting to stretch back over next to Duel, but knows that they can't. Duel keeps moving around different corridors, trying to find some way to get into a fight, and they can't seem to find anything. The only potential that we could see is Duel maybe shifting back around towards the south, which it looks like they're wanting to do now, and Liberate might set up a firing line. So Duel might think that this is
Oh.
safe and have to be very careful based off of the repositioning coming back over on this angle.
Dual spot. So Cherry spots the car and knows there's a team over there, and they are going to pull back. Honestly, their best option is turn on voice comms and start yelling, "Let's all push together," because essentially it's just going to be moving around the circle. And like you said, forcing these teams to fight each other. Zenith, like I think you pointed out as well, has got to be frustrated to a certain extent because they just can't do anything. No one's going to peek them. They know they're there.
Oh, I like this positioning coming out from Pentalol, though. It might provide him a pretty sneaky little angle to work around, depending on how he wants to advance. You can see the rest of the duel already starting to line up over there, except for Lynxy. Lynxy's going to be the tail end of this, making sure that nobody's pushing back around behind them because they know that Veritas might lean into that option because they've already seen Veritas take those shots back over towards one I opened just a second ago. Liberate content, but you can see it's starting to get a little bit nervous. Nobody is shooting, and when there's 16 people alive and nobody's shooting, and you know there's only one complex that's in play, everybody starts getting antsy for counterflanks coming in. So now that we start to get an idea on what's going on, Ice Tech Guabi starting to stretch out just a touch, have to start being very, very careful.
Too much. Patience in PUBG can be paramount, and it looks like Liberate wants to find some information. They do manage to survive here. They do some damage to Penta. Nice nades, but the nades are going both ways. It's mortar strike time, baby.
Got one member down. Penta's already getting knocked off of this. Hello Senpai gets knocked in return, has to step away. Ice Tech narrowly avoids going down as an explosion pops off right in front of his face. Lots of damage coming out from Duel in this position. The new circle's going to pop, and that means that both Liberate and Duel are going to have to move, as well as Veritas. Zenith still gets to maintain king of the castle position from this point, but they don't want to move just quite yet. You can see Roth is so antsy. He wants to run up over that hillside, but cannot do it. Rez coming back over for Hello Senpai at this point. Looks like retaliation. Rez came back over from Duel. Still, the hillside providing just enough cover to work around. So Liberate says, I don't like this. I don't like the angle that we're trying to play around, and starts looking back over towards the east.
That's great news for Zenith. Liberate and Duel, they didn't lose anybody, but they used all their utility against each other. Veritas, they're going in net!
They just decided to push in. You were trying to use the opportunity, but it is not going to work. You can see Zenith has been waiting for so long. Finally, like, yes, somebody decided to come to our house. But now it's going to be Liberate trying to use the opportunity on the other side. They hear the shots coming through. Ice Tech does go down, but at least a couple of members do manage to get a touch of a foothold inside this point. Baja goes back over for the res, but look at the throwables coming out from every single point. Duel's making push back over to the other side. Zenith, who's been comfortable in here for so long, is now having to contend with variables on every single angle, and they're trying to hold it out. Duel with 10 kills, trying to step forward. Cherry, last one's going to go ahead and get taken down, and now it's just back over towards Liberate and Zenith. Zenith knows the fact that they have a ton of loot that they can pick up, and finally starting to get a couple of kills. But Liberate do manage to reconcile, get back up together, and now have 4 members, as this is a straight 4v4 neighbor fight.
8 kills from 1 to 8. This is great. Zenith using the utility. They are pushing hard. Senpai does get up on the roof, use that car that they drove in to try to get an advantageous position. It may catch someone off guard. We'll find out. Liberate makes it in with 4 for a good old-fashioned 4v4, but Zenith has been planning this for a while.
Here's the problem. Zenith still has center. So whenever this starts to collapse back in, Zenith still has advantage and does not have to move while Liberate does. Liberate is going to have to find some type of angle to play off of. Shinboy is trying to find one of his own. Gets a little bit of shots back over towards that angle, but realizes the double up might be a little bit too dangerous. Everybody from Zenith's trying to regroup, trying to deny any movement coming through. Nice grenade's going to connect onto 2 different members of Liberate. This is a problem. This is a team that's going to have to move. Cloudburst Explosion's going to go ahead and take down Elo Senpai. And then there's one. You can see Zenith is so tired of sitting in these buildings. It's all on Baja Waka. He doesn't even see the angle. Zenith